Hi, everyone.
How's it going?
Is it Thursday? Oh my gosh, it's Thursday.
Yeah, crazy.
Wow, time is going by so fast. My name is Arabella, and I'm here with Summer Murdock. We are so excited to have you, Summer, again for day 2 of your photo editing streams.
Awesome. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. I see some people in the chat already, so I'll just say hi to a few of them. Hi, Mallory, again. Hi, Robert. Hi, Sam. Hi, Wade. Hi, Kushi. Hi, Michelle. Hi, Lotus. A lot of people tuning in. Thank you. Let us know where you're watching from. We've got someone from Houston, Texas. Hi, Yenna. I love seeing where people are from because it just means, it just feels like we're connected to people even though they're really far away. And Adobe Live is such a great resource for learning and connecting with other creatives. So thank you, Adobe Live. You're awesome. Yeah, we've got a couple of things to do first. Maybe if we can take a look at that schedule, that'd be awesome. Cool, thank you. So we had Shauna Lynn for getting started at 7:30 a.m. Jason Levine giving us a video daily creative challenge at 8:30 a.m. Jesus giving us another Photoshop daily creative challenge just before us. And I kind of took a peek at that and it was really cool. It was, he was using the sky replacement or teaching the sky replacement tool. And then we've got Summer until about 11:30. For her photo editing stream. We've got Gladdy from Print My Soul for an Illustrator Daily Creative Challenge at 11:30 a.m. after us. And Sydney Machuda for a logo design at noon. Jesse Showalter for an Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge at 2 p.m. We've got Kyle T. Webster for another draw along at 2:30 p.m. and Voodoo Val and Victor Davila for a design off at 3 p.m. So tons of stuff going on. Have this in the back, as you work. It's just nice to be able to hear conversations, creative conversations, and you can kind of like pick up on things. So lots of stuff going on. Hope you guys stick around for all day. But yeah, we are so excited to have you, Summer. For anybody that is new, we would love to hear again who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Summer Murdock. I'm based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. I am a commercial and lifestyle photographer, specialize in kids and families. I'm probably most proud of my personal work, of the work that, I went through a period for about 5 or 6 years where I shot an image almost every day. So I'm most proud of the work that I've photographed, my kids. I teach an online workshop called The Magic of Light. I run an online photography school. Mostly though, I just love to create and experiment. So yeah, that's me.
That's fun. Can we take a look at some of your work too, if you can scroll?
Yes. So here's my Instagram.
Yes, go follow her. Is it Summer_Murdock?
Yes, at Summer_Murdock. Yeah, this is just kind of.
Yeah, I love it. I can see why your class is called The Magic of Light.
Light's super inspiring to me. It's one of the things that motivates me most, to pick up my camera. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Anyway.
That's amazing. I love that you have a focus to not only in like creating work, but also educating others. I think that's really important. I think that's kind of, why we have Adobe Live too. It's like everybody should want to, share more, educate other people, and, photography can be for anybody.
Absolutely. I think that's something that's really important to me in my whole journey. I never really imagined that I would be teaching. It's never anything that was on my radar, but an opportunity came and I wrote this class and I realized like, oh, I'm actually good at this. And it's become a passion of mine to really build up other photographers and become the best version of themselves.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. Well, we've got some other people joining us. Hi, Quinn. Hi, Haley. Robert's from Sweden. Hi, Demadola. We've got Texas. Someone from Africa. That's amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you, Wade, for plugging in Summer's Instagram. Go follow her work and just stay up to date with all her stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to quickly remind everyone, if you are watching on YouTube, come and watch over on behance.net/live. You'll have access to the chat and you can ask questions and I'll be able to see them because I can't see anything that's going on over on YouTube. So come on over and interact with us and ask Summer all the questions. She's available until 11:30. So anything that you want to get advice on or thoughts or anything about the entire process, feel free to ask in the chat. So, but yeah.
Questions. Ask me all the questions.
Yes. And yesterday we had such an awesome stream with you. You were working on some kind of your workflow in Lightroom and sharing all your tips. You also showed us a little bit of, tiny bit of Photoshop, but would love to hear what you are going to be working on today.
Yeah, today, so I got a couple comments in my DMs on Instagram yesterday. We talked a lot about creating a preset that works for you, that makes, that can help make
with consistency.
Consistent workflow, and that I have one. I had a couple of people asking if I would share that with them. So I thought that would be it's kind of a great way to dive into the discovery tutorial section in Lightroom and show you how you can upload an image from Lightroom Classic, put it in a collection, sync it to Lightroom. I want to call it Lightroom CC, but the actual Lightroom, and then you can then download the preset. And I'll just show you how that works. I am going to edit an image that I panned, and we can talk about motion in general. Motion and motion blur and panning techniques, as well as just motion in general. Another thing that's, if you look at my work, besides playing with light, is motion. You see all kinds of, even my portraits incorporate a lot of.
Yeah, I'm seeing that one right now on your Instagram.
So we're going to talk about that, and then I will show you. I'll batch edit. If we have time, I have this.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Here where I can, quickly edit one image and then sync it across the other images in the session. I'm going to show you.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. I'm so excited.
And the neural filters and.
Oh, yes. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
Andrew says, hi, Summer. Lovely work. Magdalena Berry says, hi. She really also wants to know how you capture motion so well. So we're excited to learn from you.
Awesome.
And Carolyn says hello from Santa Paula, California. Lovely work, Summer. So tons of people chiming in the chat. They are loving your work. So
awesome. Okay. Yeah. All of you in the chat, ask me questions. Feel free to chime in as I'm working and talking about things, because questions, I'm a huge fan of questions. They lead us to more questions,
Exactly.
Anyways.
We can have conversations and it's great. One quick note too, actually, today we're doing, again, portfolio reviews, but I just want to remind you all that the design feedback is still happening, still going. Jesus gave us a challenge of using the sky replacement tool. So if you're interested, there's a tab up above the chat that says challenge, and you can, submit work, create work as you're watching Summer also editing and doing her process. But yeah, I highly encourage everyone to just challenge yourself and practice, and then, submit your portfolios as well, because you might get them reviewed in a future stream. So, but yeah, Summer, let's get started.
Okay, awesome.
Ooh, Bianca says
yes. It says yes. Let's see.
Bianca says, hi, Summer. I took your Magic of Light workshop and it was incredible. Oh.
Who said that?
Bianca Franco.
Oh, hi, Bianca. How's it going?
Shout out to Bianca.
Yes. Okay. So let's start. With I'll do a quick edit on this image, just with the preset, and then I will take it into. I will show you how to sync and how to download the preset and all of that over in Lightroom. So let's start with this. If you all are not familiar with the new discovery tool, if you follow me on Instagram, I've been talking about it a lot because I think it's so cool. It's such an amazing way to, particularly if you're trying to figure out your editing style. I love seeing how other people edit, and it doesn't always work for me, but there's sometimes little tips and tricks that really can be helpful. Exactly. So I love it because it just kind of gives you a step-by-step. I mean, I'll show you. It gives you a step-by-step view of what other photographers are doing to edit. So and you can follow other photographers, and most of the time, if you see an edit you like, you can download it as a preset that you can then apply to your images. So I am going to, here's the preset yesterday that I use a lot that we talked about. And I am just going to do, this will just be a super quick edit, and we're going to sync it over here. I need to keep this centered. So I'm going to move this over to the side. So first I'm just going to warm it up just a little bit there. I might bring exposure down ever so slightly, a little bit of contrast. It looks pretty good. I could sit and play more with colors here. Let's see, I might actually bring that down. And then sometimes on an image like this, I might even take a little bit of light, and I'm loving this. I love this. This image was taken after the sun went down. So the sun had just barely gone down behind the horizon. We're at the beach, and you can see here that the light is coming from this way, and it's really, really subtle, but you can see that light there highlighting the side of your face, and there's subtle shadows. Sometimes when you're in open areas like that, it can be, particularly if the sun has gone down, light can start to look a little bit flat. But I always look at, after the sun goes down, I'm always paying attention to where the sun went. And I now then want to sort of face or angle my subject towards where the sun was, even though it's gone down behind the horizon, so that you can get, that's now your light source, right? So anyways, you can see that subtle light. So I'm not going to do a whole lot to this because I want to take it over into Lightroom CC. So there's that. And now basically what you want to do is, okay, so you want to take this is what I do when I want to sync things over. And I do this if I, for instance, am on a trip, and I just want a collection of images in Lightroom CC. Maybe I want to edit on my iPad or cull on my phone. You can make a whole collection from because I have like 12 terabytes of images from over the past 12 years. And so for me, the technology over in Lightroom CC is amazing. And I wish that I could just have all of my images live in the cloud, but that's just a little, I mean, you can only
It's a little crazy.
Yeah, right. I mean, you can only have a plan up for 10 terabytes. And anyway, so for me, a full workflow over there, it doesn't work, but there are amazing, I love using both. So sometimes I will create a collection that I'm working on, and I will sync it over to Lightroom CC or Lightroom. I'm supposed to call it Lightroom, right? Yes, it's Lightroom.
Right, because this is Lightroom Classic, right?
Exactly. So I create a collection and I put the images that I want to be over in Lightroom, right? And you can you can drag them, you can do it on the import, but then you see this little dot over here in the corner. Do you see that? So you click on, and this collection now will be synced with Lightroom. So everything in here is now going to be over there. And it's great because, for instance, if I'm traveling and I want to work on those images, I can do that. So let's open Lightroom. I might have to actually close it and restart to
Cool. Healy had a question. She said, can you walk, or can you walk through what is in the preset you use? Which I think you kind of went over a little bit yesterday, right?
I did. Yeah. We
Yeah.
did
So
it from
if you want to
scratch.
see the replay of that, it is available. You just go on behance.net/live and go through the library of the previous past
Yeah.
streams, and you'll be able to see it. So, yeah.
So now you see that here's my collection that is synced, and all of those images are now in this collection in Lightroom.
I just have to say, your kids have got their posing down.
They, yeah.
Your daughter, she looks so like, she's just so, very like sophisticated modeling.
Well, I'm very much a come as you are, and
Yeah.
I'd way rather have them just look at me than do a fake forced smile, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of times they don't feel like smiling, and I just get what I get with their
That's
somber
true.
looks. So that's kind of, but yeah,
That's a good point.
they're very used to the camera. I mean, like I say, for 6 years, I photographed them almost, well, maybe not every single day for almost 4 years, every single day.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're quite used to it. And I'm anyway, so I click on, come over here, and you push this share button, and you push share edit. Okay. And then you can give it a title. I don't know. I'm terrible at naming. Beach portrait. Does it really?
Jacob says these kids are about to have the craziest Instagram feeds.
Yeah, they don't want my photos for their Instagram feeds. It's kind of funny. They just want to take their own, which is fine. And then you push a subject, okay? And then you push share.
Okay.
Okay. And that'll take a second.
Perfect.
And then here is my, what do you call it? Discovery to my discovery area. Mm-hmm. These are the images that I have uploaded. And if you click on this, oh, it's still processing. Well, let's just go over here to the discovery section, and you can see these are all images that Lightroom, Adobe has featured, right? And you can click on any of these images, and you can see here, it will go step by step what the photographer has done. And then you can push here at the bottom, save as a preset, and it will save right into your Lightroom. And when, let me go to
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so cool.
I love that.
And you can follow other photographers. So like I could go here and follow this person, push follow, and then every time that she uploads something, she will come here in my following. Oh, nope, that's her following section.
Cornell is asking, what's the software? Adobe Lightroom? Yep, it is Adobe Lightroom, and we're in the discovery section, right? Yes. Okay.
So, and then these are so when I uploaded mine, it goes here into the discovery section. Any image that's uploaded, there's this feed where people can look. And then there's an area of people that I have followed, and all of their images are here.
Amazing.
So it can be kind of hard to find photographers because at this point you can't search them. So I recommend if you come across them, follow them, and you like what they do, follow them right away. I did notice that if you go to behance.net and search somebody's name and follow them there, you are then also following them here. So okay. That's cool. Yeah, I mean, that's a way to sort of, because I've had a hard time. There's people that I've wanted to follow and can't find them. So if they have an account, I can find them. But yeah, so, and then, here's me. And then you can click here. And if you want to save this preset that I use all the time, you can say save as preset. And I would say not to include exposure. And let's see, oops. You can click what you want to include and what not. And I would not include white balance. and then you can save that and it will go straight into your presets in
That's
Lightroom.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So if you want to do that, why is this? Let's see here. And you can see presets, and you will see beach portrait, right? And it's right there.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can have that to use.
That's super cool.
And then you can go through and see every single thing that I have done in detail, because you have the actual preset, right? So
yes.
Anyways, it's awesome. Really cool. I know, it's such a cool learning feature. And also, everyone can't upload to this area, but there is the, hold on here. If you go to the Learn section, and you can, these are tutorials that Lightroom has approved and Adobe has approved and uploaded, and you can start tutorial and you can go step by step, you know, where you actually have to do the work and push the buttons and the tools. And that's a great way to learn how other photographers edit and how people are doing things also, and how to use tools. So yeah, that's another thing.
That's really cool.
It's such a cool, I mean, you know, if you have a cloud, Adobe subscription, all of this is right at your fingertips.
Yeah,
I'm so amazing. Impressed by all the stuff that Adobe, all tools Adobe.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's really cool. Anyways, we won't go through all of those, but seriously, something that you should go check out.
Yeah. It's just like good to even, I mean, I'm always curious about other people's editing process too. So I feel like that is a great way to learn.
It is. And it's a great way when you can download presets like that.
Yeah.
You know, a great way to really be able to dive into exactly what the photographer did to the image to get that edit. And I mean, you can learn a lot just by observing that and observing what people are doing in tone curves and all of that. You know? So anyway, yeah, it's a super cool tool.
Awesome.
Okay. By the way, if anyone was on there yesterday, I now am using my mouse. Not my trackpad.
Does anybody still use their trackpad? Tell us in the chat.
Particularly,
I mean, I don't blame them. I also did it myself. It's fine. Sometimes it's all you have, so
exactly.
You just work with what you got.
It's funny. It's so funny. When I went from desktop to laptop, I just started using my trackpad and never looked back.
I know.
Anyways, okay. So let's now talk about, why don't we dive into, does anyone have questions about any of that we just went through?
Yeah, let us know in the chat if you have any questions. Summer would love to answer them.
Yeah. And so now what I think we will do is I will edit. I'm going to reset this. I'm going to edit this portrait, and then I'm going to open it in Photoshop and show you the new neural filters, or at least the portrait, the skin smoothing neural filter. There's a lot of neural filters.
I know. There's so many.
Yeah. I've only played with, I don't really do a lot of sky replacements, but I did download that one and I was kind of looking at it. It's just cool.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff. But the skin retouching one, you know, a lot of times you can do some basic skin retouching in Lightroom, but sometimes you need a little more. So
yeah, definitely.
Anyways, okay. Let's
Quinn says trackpad. Oh no, only when I can't find the batteries to my mouse.
This is awesome.
Cornell also prefers their mouse, but only because they can work faster.
Is that I think I know Cornell. I think I know Cornell.
Yeah, Cornell Kazmier's Zach.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe not.
Still, yes, hello, Cornell.
Yes. Regardless. Hi, Cornell. I can't see the chat pad or the chat pod. So, okay. So, you know, these are sort of my three go-to presets. maybe I'll just click on this one and tweak a little bit, and then we'll do some hand editing in the next section. Does that sound okay? Or do you guys want me to hand like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to bring highlights up just a little bit. Shadows. And really, I might here bring up highlights a little bit more. And sometimes if I want things to be a little bit more contrasty, I will even bring these things down so that I have more contrast. And then sometimes I'll paint on just a touch of light onto my subject's face if it's needed. You have to be really careful, obviously.
Yeah, not to go. Oh no.
Yeah, I need to sort of soften these. And then sometimes if you need to do that, you can even add just, a little bit of warmth.
Oh yeah.
I need to soften my adjustment brush. Okay. Anyways, so, and this, I mean, you know what? I wonder if I should do an image that actually maybe needs a little bit more skin retouching, because his skin is pretty smooth. That was my son. His skin is pretty dang smooth. So let's do this. I'm going to bring up exposure. Oh, wait. I'm in my wrong area here. Okay. Just going to play with that a little bit. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to go into the luminance. And here, it's where you can really start to affect.
Oh, yeah.
How light or dark you want things. Sometimes reds too. I'm going to bring that down just a little. I'm going to bring the yellow down just a little bit. So it's looking pretty good. And let's open this in Photoshop. See, now you got me using a mouse and I do it. Seriously. It's funny. Trackpad fan.
Trackpad man. I know. Sometimes I still catch myself. Because it's so easy to zoom on the trackpad, So if I'm in Photoshop, especially, like I'm zooming in and out and using my fingers, and then I accidentally bring over the other hand and I start working.
Right.
So funny.
Right. It is funny.
It happens.
Yeah. Okay. So what I would do here is sometimes first, just get the zoom in, and you might want to just do a little bit of, I'm not one that does a ton of retouching. But sometimes, I'm just clicking and sort of cleaning up a little bit of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You could go crazy.
Sure.
I'm not into, personally, I don't want I want people to look like they have
texture.
Their skin.
Yeah,
and everything doesn't need to be super perfect. But sometimes you need to retouch a little.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, definitely.
That. And then here comes the amazing part. Oops.
Okay.
Why is need to zoom out, not in. Okay, so go up here to filter, and you'll see Neural Filters, which is new.
It's so fascinating.
It is. I don't know if anyone is familiar. There was a plugin back in the day called Portraiture.
Oh.
That you could, that I feel like it almost did something similar to this.
Uh-huh.
And now this is just here in Photoshop, and it's awesome. I'm super excited about it. Okay,
that's amazing.
Yeah, so you turn this on, right? And then you can play with the blur. Obviously, that's insane. So you have to be careful there.
Be
Why is it
subtle with it.
going away? Yeah, I turned it down and it's not going away. Hold on. No. Okay. There we go.
Huh?
It's being a little slow.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah. This is okay. So yeah, that's too much. I'm having a hard time. Let's reset again. So you can play with blur and smoothness. Hold on a second. Usually this doesn't take quite so long, but you can definitely play with this, bring down smoothness, bring down the blur.
Yeah.
If it will update. Okay, there you go. That's looking better. That's still a little heavy for me personally, somewhere around there, but you get the feel for it. And then down here, you're going to open it, and you can, open it with a duplicate layer, it'll be on a new layer masked. You have all these options. I personally, the duplicate layer masked, I've just been doing new layer and then I add a mask, which maybe that's just silly, but, or you could just even erase it here and delete. But generally how I do this when I'm retouching is you do a layer mask and I hide everything. And then I paint it back on is how I usually do it.
You can be more selective.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, and then you can just paint it on where you need it. And then I feel like you don't have to worry about, because sometimes it does a really good job, if you noticed, about not doing eyes and hair and things like that. Yeah. But sometimes it can get a little bit not confused, but it's not perfect, I guess, is what I'm saying. So you can just kind of paint it on where you want it. Yeah, and it's so fast.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
I know, it's just really awesome and cool. And you just have for me, I just have a little bit more control when you're doing this versus, using like a brush in Lightroom and bringing the texture down. But yeah, if you see that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it looks really good. He still has texture in his skin, but it does just.
That's awesome.
Up and so that's an amazing, cool new feature.
Yeah.
Photoshop. How
I know
like 2 weeks?
I know. Yeah, probably 2 weeks since Adobe Max. But it's so crazy. I mean, and that's just that's not all too. There's so many more neural filters. I remember there was like one where you could switch a person's like angle. So like if they're straight, you can make them like look as if they're looking to the right or to the left. You can also like move their eyes like they're
I saw
it's just crazy.
Yeah, the let's see, I don't even know.
You can make someone older, you can make someone younger.
I saw that too.
Apply makeup, or like you can like take a photo and have like, whatever's happening to that photo, whether it's texture or color, and like apply it to another image, and it's incredible. I mean,
wow, I need to play around in there. I don't even know, why are they not showing up? Don't you have to like
I wonder if you have to probably download them. Yeah, I'm assuming.
I can't even remember where I downloaded this.
It's just crazy. It's insane.
So many cool things.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, the sky thing. Oh, it's style transfer. That must be what you're talking about.
Style transfer. Yes.
Wow. I'll have to play with that. That's really cool.
Yeah. Look at that. It's like got the little,
wow. Let's see. Turn it on. I mean, why is that not working? I have. This is.
So you have to like
Oh,
apply. There you go. Oh my gosh.
So this is so my style.
So fascinating.
No, but it's like a really cool tool though. I mean, it's amazing.
Well, the thing is too, you can upload an image of, let's say you took a beauty portrait, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you take another beauty portrait, and let's say that, or sorry, let's say you look up a beauty portrait or something,
Right.
you upload it and they have like red lips, blue eyeshadow, whatever. So then it'll take that blue eyeshadow, red lips, and apply it to your face.
Wow.
It studies the face. So it's wild, you guys. It's
That's
crazy.
super,
I mean, Photoshop, Adobe in general is coming out with some cool stuff.
yes.
So yeah, the more you'll see more of it too as these streams go along, and
Right.
and you'll see people playing with it. So it's
This
all
is
exciting.
A bad example. File transfer. But just so you know, it's there.
But just so you know, it's there. Yes, exactly. Megan says, if I'm just wandering around the house with my laptop, it's trackpad all the way.
Totally.
But if I'm plugging into other monitors, then I use the mouse, which yeah, that's how I am too, I think.
I've got where I just use trackpad all the time.
Yeah, you know, it's fine. I mean, the thing is, it's not like you're doing these like detailed things in Photoshop, you know. You are on Lightroom, you're working with sliders, you know, all that kind of stuff. So
exactly.
I think you are in the clear.
Exactly. Okay, so let's talk about motion.
Yeah.
Motion to me is, I mean, motion shows life, right? I always talk about magic of light. I feel like motion is magic also. I think that having people move brings them to life. It brings them into their own bodies. It brings the image to life. It brings the scene to life. And you know, let's face it, I hate having my photograph taken. Having a camera pointed in my face feels intimidating, and
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I feel pretty uncomfortable a lot, you know, when someone's
it's so funny how that works, right?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I feel like when someone's photographing me, the longer that I'm just sitting there in one place, the more awkward that I start to feel, you know, the more self-conscious I start feeling and wondering like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? And I have a rule for myself when I'm photographing other people. If I'm requiring my subject to stay, particularly younger people, but even adults, you know, on commercial shoots, when you have, you know, paid models and talent, it's a little bit different.
Yes,
but
it totally is.
Yeah, because I mean, you know, that they're used to that. But for me, requiring my subject to be stationary and in one place for longer than like 5 minutes for real people is just, it's too long. They get bored, they start feeling awkward, and it shows in my images. So I'm always asking people to move their bodies. It literally makes them start to feel alive. It's an invitation to be yourself. I think about when I'm even taking self-portraits, the images that are, a lot of times I look at them and I think, oh, what is that? Does that even look like me? And when I like put it on an interval timer or get my remote and I'm moving and I'm actually doing things, I recognize myself in the photos and I say, oh, there's me. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, for me on a shoot, if you're on a shoot with me, it's kind of like, let's go for a walk. We're going to stop along the way. We are constantly moving and interacting. I photograph my own kids this way as well. I try, if I can, is on, you know, commercial sets, it's the same thing. I'm always asking them to move, and I'm shooting the in-between moments. And if you look at my work, you know, you will see that.
I think that tells a lot about the kind of photographer you are. And also, I mean, at the end of the day, your job is also to kind of make someone feel comfortable enough to like to just be themselves, and you can just, then you have that ability to capture those in between moments where they're in their most comfortable state.
Exactly. I mean, even portraits, you know, if you look at this portrait, you know, he's kind of moving, his lip moving there. It just adds, you know, her moving her hair out of her ear,
face, or
out of her face. You know, it just makes the image look less stagnant.
Yes.
And a lot of times even I will be moving and I'll say, stop, you know, and look at me, get together, and I'll have them stop and look, or even as they're moving, like yell at them and they'll look back at me. And the looks that you get that way are sometimes so much more natural and real than when you just are standing there and saying, smile, look at me, you know. It brings people to life. So I'm all about motion, freezing motion, getting people comfortable, but also I love to play around with motion blur and panning.
I love it.
We'll edit one. I'm just going to show you like a collage here's a collage of images that I panned. These are all panned, and we'll talk about what that means a little bit. And then, playing with slow shutter where you have one subject. I love to do that. Shoot at about 1/30th of a second. You can handle it. Have one person is holding really still while there's, somebody else moving through the frame and blurred, and it just creates, even here with him with the football.
Yeah.
Having
it adds so much interest.
Yeah, it does. It just adds another layer of interest. I always think that if someone just stops for a second longer and is like, oh, that's cool, my job is done as a photographer. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to change the world necessarily. I'm just trying to sort of say, hey, look at this cool thing I saw. And that sounds dramatic, change the world. What am I even talking about? But you get the point.
Yes.
Anyway, so let's dive in and we'll talk about, as I'm editing this image, this image here is panned. The sun had just gone down and he was running, and I loved how he was dressed all monochromatic this day and he completely blended in to the scene. and I was like,
so by panning, did you mean like he's moving, but you're also moving with him, right?
Exactly. And let's talk about real quickly. Should we talk about panning tips before we get into the edit?
Yeah, what are the settings that you have, or what
this image here, where are my settings? So this is this is shot with my 35 millimeter. I'm at 2.2, 1/20th of a second, ISO 100. And so with panning, just a few things. Okay, so first of all, motion blur. With that other collage I showed, there's one person that's still, I'm focused on the still person. And then there's somebody moving through the frame, and I'm at 1/30th of a second. So that can be hard to handhold and hard to get.
Yes, someone just asked that. Like, are you hand holding the camera at 1/30th? Okay.
I am. It's tricky. Of course, getting a tripod and stabilizing is always a smart idea. I tend to be very much, I do this in between shooting more lifestyle movement photos, and I don't always have time to set up a tripod.
Sure.
And so I'm just hand holding, and I'm just stabilizing my camera by maybe holding it, my arms into my side like this, right? And just really trying to hold as still as possible. Longer, like 70 to 200 is going to be really hard to do that with because the lens is so heavy. So smaller cameras, smaller lenses help you be able to stabilize at 1/30th of a second. And so, and then I just, around 1/30th of a second, I'm focusing on the still subject while the person who's in motion goes through the frame and they're blurred. Okay. So that's motion blur, but this is panning. And the difference here is you're doing a lot of the same things. I usually start around 1/30th of a second. Sometimes I'll go down 1/20th of a second. It just depends. The faster that your subject is moving, the higher your shutter speed can be, because if it's a car, for instance, and it's moving super, super fast, if you're at 1/50th of a second, you'll still get some blur when it goes by versus like a toddler running. If a toddler's running at 1/50th of a second, it's not going to look that blurry. So you sort of have to adjust. But 1/30th of a second is a good place to start. I focus on my subject. I put my focal point on my subject. I always use AI servo or continuous focus mode. So I keep that focus point on my subject and I am tracking, and I use back button focus. So I'm holding that down as they are moving. I'm tracking them. I just have to keep the focal point and keep my finger on the back of my camera, right? On my back button focus. And the key with panning to really get this look where your subject is in relative focus and the background is blurred, right? Where the other images, the background was pretty sharp.
Yes.
But the subject is blurred, right? So here it's opposite. What you have to do here, the most important thing is to track your subject. You have to actually move your camera at the same speed as your subject, right? So as I'm photographing them, so my focal point's on them, they're moving, and I am trying to, my feet are planted firmly on the ground, and I am moving my camera at the same speed as my subject. And it can be kind of tricky. If you do a quick Google of panning, you'll find all kinds of tutorials. But one, you know, I find that looking for predictable motion, like for instance, somebody on skating, just gliding on a skateboard or a bike or a scooter or something like that, I'll have a lot, or even a swing, I'll have a lot better success rate than when, for instance, he's running here. It can be done, but he's moving this way and up and down. And so it makes it a little bit trickier, but it definitely can still be done. So yeah. And I also a lot of times think it's easier to have a more stop down aperture, just because then you don't have to worry about nailing focus. Your focus area is bigger, right? If you're at 8.0 versus 2.0.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So that helps. I find that if I tend to get a little bit more extreme blur at like 50 millimeters versus 24, because you already have, you know, more, the longer focal length, which can create a little bit more depth field. And then, just also your background, a busy background, your friend, when you can find light. If this was like a solid white background, obviously you're not going to have any streaking in the background, right?
Yeah.
So you need light and, you know, some contrast in your background.
Definitely.
So you can see the streaking. Anyways.
That's so cool. I love it. And I'm sure you probably run into a lot of like happy accidents too.
For sure. And that's the other thing, is know that like you're going to need to rapid fire shoot a lot of images, and you're going to not get a lot. Like you're going to miss a ton. And that's normal.
Yeah. So, maybe one out of all those bunch, out of that bunch.
Exactly. Like I'll have some, like as he's running by, I'll take a shot, and I seriously, not a shot. I mean, I will just rapid fire as he's moving and track, right? And I'll probably, if I'm lucky, I get one good one, a pass through of like probably 25 images, if I'm lucky. So, and usually I have to do it like, okay, run by again. And so.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways.
Very cool.
Yeah, motion, it's just such a great way to play with, to just create a whole other feeling, you know what I mean? Yeah. If I had just completely frozen motion here with him running, this image would not be nearly as interesting.
Yes, I agree.
So it would also,
I love that you changed the temperature like that.
Yeah. So again, I shoot auto white balance. We talked about this yesterday.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, it's just one more step.
I mean, I do the same. I feel like it seems like a common thing between people, especially like, for you, I'm sure, you're looking for light and you're looking for that moment. So like a lot of the times, like having to think about setting, the temperature or certain things, like you're like, I don't have the time. I need to just shoot it and like I can figure it out later.
Exactly. So, so I have no problem shooting auto white balance. When you're shooting raw, you can.
It's amazing. Yeah. But I love it. It adds this like effect to it.
So you can see here, even if I just adjust the exposure and the temperature, what a major difference
Yes.
that makes, you know, those two things alone. I think training your eye to see white balance and to really get that right is huge. And, you know, one thing that can be super helpful in that, I think when I first started and I really had a hard time seeing, people would say, oh, that has too much magenta or too, and I would think, oh, I didn't totally see it. You know what I mean? But I started creating collections of images that I saw, like maybe a Pinterest board or something, and that I saw that I was drawn to and that I liked, and that I would pull those up and just kind of look at them and compare what I was creating and editing to these images that, you know, as far as like white balance and color and tone and all of that. And it really helped to train my eye. So yeah, that's something that you can do too.
That's awesome. I think that's great. You took the initiative to kind of train yourself. Yeah. It's a practice. I mean, it's definitely something you develop over time.
I'm gonna bring down, I'm just, you know, I go through and adjust these. I'm just gonna edit this by hand.
Robert and Magdalena both say bye, Summer and Airball. They got work to do.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us, you guys. If you have any questions, we're here with Summer Murdock, if you're just joining us now. And if you're watching from YouTube, make sure to come over to behance.net/live. We've got a whole chat going on. You can ask Summer questions. We just started talking about motion, and she's editing this fun little image of your son.
Yes.
Running.
This is like he's running home.
I love it. It's so good.
Okay, so then I just did a parametric tone curve, super quick. I find these, you have more control when you use these tone curves, but this I find is it. It works when you're editing by hand. And sometimes I double them up, but today I'm not going to. Okay, and then this is when you can start really having fun playing with colors and tones. But really, I mean, I am okay with how this is looking, even as it is. But I will play a little bit with, let's see, you can see there, you know, you play with the oranges, whether you want it to be a little more orange, a little less orange. I'm going to kind of leave it there. Same with yellows, you know, if you want them to be more green or less green. That's all looking okay. I'm going to bring the yellow saturations down, maybe just a tad. Orange up. Everything else looking okay. Luminance. I'm going to bring the orange down just a little, maybe yellow up.
Brenda says it's a lot easier, as in quotes, less expensive, better chance of good outcome now that photography is pretty much all digital. It's too expensive to try this motion stuff when you're shooting 35 millimeter.
100%.
Have you ever shot with film, Summer?
Yeah, I started, one of my 6 majors in college was photography. Back then it was all film in the dark room and all.
It's so awesome. But very expensive.
I have my old Canon 35 millimeter, but I don't shoot a lot of film. It's one of those things I keep saying like, oh, I should just load it and take a roll and send it in, but I don't do that.
Luis Molina is asking, how do you know where to stop and not overdo it? And I wonder if he's asking about editing, probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. You know, it's just it's a gut thing. It's like you just have to learn to trust your eye. And I mean, there's days where for sure I've edited things and I come back the next day, especially if I'm sitting too long and I'm tired. I come and I look and I think, oh, what was I thinking there? You know what I mean? And I have to like do some tweaking. I mean, I think it's very common. The more that you sit and stare at the same images or the same group of images, things start looking, your eyes can start deceiving you. Does anyone agree?
I agree. I agree with that for sure.
There's lots of times where I have to just kind of, if I've been doing it for too long, I have to walk away and come back and look at it.
Yeah, with fresh eyes.
It's just an experience thing almost, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
To know that it's normal for that to happen to even the best of, I mean, people who have been doing it for years and years and years. It's normal to sometimes, I mean, that happens to me all the time where I edit something and I post it on Instagram and think, ooh, I'm not sure about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not all the time, but
every now and then.
Yeah, totally. It happens way less now than it did.
Brenda agrees with you. Yes.
Yeah. So anyways, okay. So let's do a little bit of color grading here. We talked about this yesterday. This is such an awesome tool.
Yeah, especially now that they added the midtones. So good.
And I always use it really subtly, but I'm going to bring the luminance and highlights up there. You can see sort of what that did. And blending, we talked about, this applies it to everything, and this applies it only to the highlights. I actually don't mind it kind of coming up a little bit.
Balance into the rest.
There with the balance, how it changes it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do that. And midtones. Let's see. Let's just experiment. If I add a little blue, what happens?
Oh.
Yeah. Crazy, ugly. But it's kind of cool to add some different tones. And you know, you can either bring luminance up or down. So yeah, and then you can just kind of see what that has done there. Again, I'm a subtle editor. And I think in the shadows, this is not my normal process, but let's see what happens. And you add a little, yeah, no. Yeah, so you can see that. And I feel pretty good about that image. Do a little sharpening, Option, Command. If you push Option, Command, and mask it. And I always take it all the way over, so then it only sharpens the white areas there, just a little bit of noise reduction. And I'm feeling.
Do you ever do the like lens correcting or chromatic aberration?
Yes, I usually do that.
Okay.
I usually do, it's particularly like when I'm backlighting.
Yes.
A lot of times, depending on the lens that I'm using, I feel like
there's some lenses that do it more.
Yes. My Canon L series lenses that are more expensive with more coatings on the glass, they don't have as much chromatic aberration as like my less expensive lenses. I've noticed that because a lot of times when like hair and, you know, areas that have a lot of contrast, you'll start to get either green or pink.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have an example here that has that, but yes, sometimes I do the profile correction. Sometimes I don't. Chromatic aberration, I most of the time have to go into the manual section. Usually clicking the auto doesn't do it for me. I then usually have to go in. I mean, usually that's part of my process is to go through and just do the auto, but a lot of times if it hasn't taken care of it, then you have to go in and really play with the hues.
That makes sense.
And get rid of it. I don't know if I have an example in this collection where I've got any chromatic aberration. But yeah, I don't think I do. Maybe a little bit in one of these, but that can be super helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In particular. So yeah, and for this image, I don't need to really crop it. It's fine. I mean, you could crop in if you wanted to do a little more. Yeah, but it doesn't really, I'm fine with the composition. I try really hard to get things right in camera. but particularly with movement, sometimes when, when I'm panning, and it's harder to be as precise with your composition. Yeah, so
that makes sense.
anyways, but that's looking pretty good for me. I might bring down the saturation of oranges just a little bit. That's bugging me. But yeah, other than that, we're yes, I do know. Gosh, I keep passing it. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. It's all right. So yeah.
So
anyway,
fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's experimenting with motion is just, it's my favorite.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, let's see. What should we do next? We have about an hour left, right?
Yes, we have about 28 minutes until we do portfolio reviews.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, we'll have some time a little bit after that too. But yeah, you've got about 28 minutes right now.
Awesome. Let's see. Maybe I'll reset this. Is there any? This is an example of an image where you can see a little bit of chromatic aberration.
Yes.
There. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this image. This was shot back when I was shooting every single day. It was taken in my front yard. Mm-hmm. I was initially attracted to the rim light that I saw in her hair. And I'm always looking for areas, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, where light and dirt come together, right? So the light's hitting my subject. It was a little bit harsh still, but the light was hitting, I was attracted to the light in her hair. Light was hitting her. She's against the shadowed background. Mm-hmm. And, I saw her, she was kind of just standing there looking around motionless. And I knew the light's cool, but this is kind of a boring image. So I asked her to sort of move around a little bit, and she started jumping off the curb, and it started to get kind of windy. And the images were getting a little bit more interesting. And then she was jumping, and a gust of wind came and sort of blew her hair up a little bit. And I was like, ooh, I'm onto something here, right? And I knew there was potential. And then the wind started blowing harder, and I asked her to jump off that curb one more time, and the wind came and just blew all her hair straight up. And, you might say, oh, that's just lucky. And it is lucky to an extent. But, it's also about anticipation. And really paying attention to what might happen and the potential with all the factors there. You know what I mean? It's essentially like knowing or having a pretty good idea of what is possible and what could happen next, and being ready for it. And I think that's something that as a photographer is just so important to sort of develop that skill, because it really requires you to evaluate and study the scene to understand what is going on. Some people think, some photographers get all the lucky shots, and I don't really, yes, there is some luck to it, but it's such a weird combination of.
Yeah, you're also being smart about it. You're like, ooh, I notice these things are happening, and there might be a moment in time where both of those things will come together in a magical way. So it's almost about being ready and being alert and attentive. Allison Myers had a question. Sorry if you already covered this, but how do you correct skin tone when you have a situation where clothing or surroundings are casting a weird color?
Yes, that is tricky. It depends on the color. I mean, you can use adjustment brushes and, try to fix it in post. The number one thing that I try to do, I learned this the hard way. I remember one of the first sessions I ever did, 12 years ago. I started photographing kids and families. Mm-hmm. And one of the first sessions I ever did, I wore a red shirt. I was backlighting. and of course, when you're close shooting at 35 millimeter with a red shirt on and the sun's hitting you, bouncing back onto your subject, that can happen. So my number one thing that I would say is, I always try to wear white when I'm photographing now because of that. but it's best to try to avoid the color casts if at all possible. I always, particularly if we're going to be outside with a lot of backlight, I kind of caution people that I'm photographing against wearing like red or orange or really super bright colors, because that can be such a problem. And something that I always, we as photographers, we're always looking for what is in the scene, right? What's in front of us. Mm-hmm. What's behind us is equally as important when it comes to light. And, because if you're photographing somebody and the scene behind you, or that you can see from your viewfinder, is beautiful, but there's a red wall behind you that is casting red light onto your subjects, it's no good, right? I'm always looking for natural reflectors in my background, whether it's a white wall or a fence, or even just open areas. Like, for instance, if you're shooting in the forest where, you've maybe got some backlight behind you, or in front of you behind your subject, right? Mm-hmm. What's behind you as the photographer? If it's a dark forest, you're going to have weird, dark, dull light, right? So I always will try to find areas that maybe are forested and put my subject on the edge of the forest where there's maybe a meadow or a clearing. So there will be light that will be on them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's my number one tip, is to try to avoid them, because color casts on skin
can be rough.
You can do your best to try to correct them, but it's never going to look the same as it would look if you didn't have them in the first place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
At least for me personally. And I am just not one that likes to spend tons and tons and tons of time doing that. I'm sure there's like Photoshop experts and whizzes that can sit there and spend hours on an image and correct it all. But like, that's not.
Yeah. You try to look for that in camera and make sure that you avoid it.
I don't enjoy that, but I'll do a quick, I'm just going to show, this image.
Oh yeah.
How to fix, chromatic aberration. Really
Allison
quickly.
says thank you.
Yes. And I will show Allison, I will kind of talk about that, what you can kind of do with skin tones, with adjustment brushes, when I get to the next batch of images.
Perfect.
I just want to show this really quickly and then we'll move on. Corrections. I need to center. There, where is it? Here it is. It's right here. Okay, so you can see how there's that little bit of pink, right? So you can do the automatic, and it does a little bit, but you can still see that. And so that's when you sort of do this, and you can just play around, and you see that how it goes away. And you kind of have to be careful, because sometimes it can start to remove color from skin. But here in this image, it's not a problem, because this is more about just the light and her hair, right? And then I still need to play with this a little bit more, bring highlights down, shadows up, color, I'm gonna bring whites down a little. Yeah.
So pretty.
Yeah, and this is a very like suburban, plain, ugly background, with a minivan and a house, right, in the background. Like, it's nothing special, but it's all about the light and the movement. I'm all about, with imagery, like I always think there's three things that I'm looking for: light, in like either story, emotion, connection, and composition, right? And then I could throw in a fourth, motion, or maybe color. But, those three things I'm always looking for. If you have one of them, you have a good image. If you have two, you have a great image. If you have all three, it's kind of like, wow. And you can always get good composition and a story or a moment or connection. You can kind of make that happen everywhere. Without having a big lighting setup, you can't always just make the light happen. So I sort of tend to give a little bit more weight and balance to light sometimes because of that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You've done it well here.
So anyways, it's just fun to play and experiment, and yeah. Okay, so let's talk about, this is an image. This is a series of images that I took of this family in New Orleans. So I have this one, and let's just talk quickly about when you have, here's my set of images, workflow, and just making this
all cohesive.
Yes, cohesive and just fast, right? I mean, good too. Okay, so here is my normal process when I have a group of images where this is fairly easy because the light is pretty similar. And that's kind of what I do when I have big groups of images. I group them by light. And then I edit one of the images and I make the corrections, and then I sync that edit with all of the other images in that same lighting group. And it can make for, because if I, for instance, edited this image and then I had an image where there was like golden backlight, it's going to be totally different, right? So I group them by light if the light changes during the shoot. But yeah, if I take this and I just edit this one image, I'll use my preset. I'm going to bring my exposure down just a little, bring shadows up maybe a little. Do I want to clarify this a little? I'm not always a huge... Let's see, I'm going to tweak that a little bit. Greens are looking pretty good. That orange I might change. You can see I can totally change that. How do I want it to look? I don't mind it being orange. I don't like the red. But yeah, these are, when you've got big bright colors like this, it's something that you can really sort of play around with. And do I want to bring down that orange saturation? Do I want to make it a big part? These are kind of questions you can start asking yourself here.
It's kind of nice that you can kind of move those like orange, red sliders, but then, there's no like skin showing in the portrait or in the image. So you can really just play with it.
Totally. But here's the thing, is I am about to sync this edit with somewhat skin. So we'll see how that goes, right?
That's true.
When you do sync, you still have to, it's not one and done, but it gets you close, right? And then you have to go through and sort of individually. So that's looking pretty good for me. Let's see here. I'm going to do profile corrections, remove chromatic aberration. And when I did that, I feel like sometimes it always makes things a little lighter. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so it's looking pretty good. And then I'm just going to highlight all the images that I want synced, and you push sync, and then you can pick what you want synced. Usually I leave exposure, it depends, but because I shoot auto white balance, I usually leave exposure and white balance off of this list. And then I just sort of tweak those individually, and makes it easier for me. I'm gonna go ahead and leave these other things I want on. Okay, so you see.
Oh, yeah.
And then you will still have to go through and tweak a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Once you've synced up all of the images and you go in to make tweaks into the individual, do they also affect what happens in the other one, or? Okay.
Because I go and do them separately, right? So I think if you highlighted them all, you can make global adjustments. So if I highlighted all of these, if I wanted to bring exposure down on all of them, I could, so they were all highlighted. So then if I do this, bring exposure down, it's going to bring exposure down on all of them. So you can make not global.
Got it.
tweaks to each one. Whoops.
That makes sense.
But yeah, so then you just can kind of go through, and I maybe warm this one up just a little. And here with skin tones, I'm definitely going to oh, that's luminance. You see how the luminance can affect skin? Like you want people to look washed out, like, you know, have a little more light. But sometimes I like them to have a little bit more light, and I'll just add a little more orange, for instance, but that's looking pretty good.
It looks so cute.
Yeah, this was fun. And again, you can see here what I talked about with movement. I mean, every single one of these images, we're just moving. And I'm just watching and shooting the whole time, you know, and directing a little bit. But yeah, but if you see, I'm going to warm that up a tiny bit. Nope, that's too much.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Pat's asking, hi guys, do we know how CC will work with an Apple's new OS 11? Great question. Don't know. Would you happen to know, Summer?
No.
If anybody in the chat lets us know.
How Lightroom is going to work?
How CC, yeah, Lightroom CC will work. Or I guess regular Lightroom.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would think, is it going to be different?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think it's probably going to be the same, right?
Right. That's what I would think, but I don't know. I would think that it's, yeah, fairly similar. But yeah, so if you look at these images now, I mean, that was quick.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Oh, so cute.
It's a great, yeah, this was fun. The birds.
Yeah.
The birds add all kinds of.
And then they all look cohesive.
Yeah, exactly. And it saves you time. And yeah, so I'm all about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. It's time-wise, should we dive into another image? Do we have 10 more minutes?
Yeah, we have about 12 minutes. You're good.
Okay.
So cute.
Maybe, I'm trying to think here. Maybe we want to talk about, I'll reset this. Yeah, if we want to edit this, does anyone have any preferences? Or if we talk about, maybe we could do the range mask.
Ooh, I love this image.
Okay, let's do this. Underwater and I'll show you, I showed this yesterday, but I'll show it again because it has a lot of, there's a lot of cool features. I mean, there's a lot of cool uses for it, is I guess what I'm trying to say here. Okay, so here again, I am going to adjust white balance, temperature. This can get a little tricky. Something that I often do with underwater images is use a radial filter, right? So it's affecting everything. Double click on effect and it will remove that. Because oftentimes when I'm shooting above and below the water, there will be like a big difference in white balance almost, right? So if I edit so that this looks normal, then it's too pink up here, you know, so I have to sort of separate it. So the linear filters are awesome for that, in that it will only affect everything below this, right? And then I can sort of warm this up a little bit and start to play with, I will show you the range color mask. If you turn that on, and you can see then if I start to move this, it will change everything, change the color of the water. And you can even take it a step further. Oops.
That's so cool.
Let's see. Oop, I'm pushing the wrong button. Okay, so sometimes this will work really well. You can do up to 5 droppers, and then it will only affect the areas that you've seen masked, right? So that is something that you can do. Another thing that you can do with this is, let's see here. Okay, so then you can, oh, I'm going to turn the mask off. Oops. There we go. So now I can play and say, you know, do I want my what color do I want my water to be? And then you can also bring down the saturation of the water if it's too much, right? So it's a great way to really sort of fine tune that. So that's something that I do a lot. And then up here, I'm going to bring down highlights. I'm going to warm the overall up a little bit and see if I can kind of play there. Contrast. Yeah,
it's beautiful.
That's looking pretty good. Yeah. And, you know, then you can really go in and start to play here too in the HSL panel with colors to sort of fine tune. And, you know, those greens in the trees, something that I'm often doing here. What really affects greens, you would think would be green, but often it's yellow.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
Yeah. So, you know, whether you want it to be, that looks crazy to me, but sort of somewhere in the middle. And you can kind of, again, I am often bringing my green saturations down quite a bit so that they're not too overwhelming and luminance. And again, you think it's green, but it's really yellow. So yeah, anyway, that range mask, and you can do a luminance mask also that only affects the masked off areas, whether it's radial, brush, or why can't I think of the linear? That one's escaping me. So yeah, anyway.
That's super cool.
It is. It's fun. And
I love this photo.
Yeah, I love this one too. Okay, so backlight can sometimes, you know, when you have a lot of haze, right? Controlling haze is important because when you have a lot of haze in an image, you start to lose a lot of contrast, color. It can make things look wonky. So I'm always trying to find things to sort of partially block the sun when I do have sun coming directly into my sensor. So you can see here, I've partially blocked it with part of the window frame, which if this wasn't here and I'm shooting directly into the sun, this would be way more of a hazy mess. So it's sort of just always looking for things to partially block that sun so I can still get the sun flare, but it's not completely overwhelming my image. Because yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've all been in situations where if you're shooting backlight and sun flare, you come home and it's like this hot, hazy disaster.
Yeah.
Controlling haze is super, super important. I'm always, looking for something to partially block the light. And then if I can't find that, then it's all, I mean, sometimes you can even use a person to block the light, right?
Yeah.
If the sun is low enough on the horizon, you can put the sun behind your subject and that completely cuts it out. I think this image here is a great example of where I actually, where I actually let a little bit of the sun peek out from behind her so that I did have a little bit of haze, but it wasn't too much, right? Because if it was to the side of her, it wouldn't work. So just always looking for something to block the light. And then if not, it's all about putting some distance in between your subject and that sun. Because, you know, there's a circle of haze around the sun. The closer your subject is to that actual white hot ball of sun, the more haze you're going to have, right? So putting separation is always very helpful to help you to control. Let's see.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah, hey, I love backlight. It can be kind of difficult. So,
oh, Julia says, hi ladies, so good to see you.
hello. Did you say Julie? Is that
Julia?
Julia.
Yeah.
Hi, Julia.
And Reverb Mike says, we need more lens flare.
Yes,
AJ
I'm all about
Abrams.
lens flare. My favorite lens, because every lens produces different lens flare.
Yes.
My absolute favorite is my Canon Tilt Shift 24mm.
Ooh.
I'll show you that. It produces this globe.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, it's my favorite. And here it is again with this image here.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's the coolest. It's my favorite shape. Anyway, okay. But it's always fun. I love to collect old lenses, and I'm always checking. That's like a big factor in choosing a lens for me, is the shape of the lens flare.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so there's this. Add a little bit of contrast. Again, when you get it right in camera, you don't have to really do all that much. One thing I am going to do here, I don't know how we are on time, but I can see myself right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so this might work. Let's see here. This can be tricky in Lightroom sometimes. No. This might need to be, if you do it in
Photoshop job.
It might be, yeah. But sometimes if you do it in smaller chunks, but right there on that line, yeah, that's gonna be a Photoshop job, which anytime I have to open it in Photoshop, I do that very last.
Yes.
So let's add some contrast, little bit of dehaze. Dehaze can be helpful. You notice if you use it too much, it really changes colors. So you have to sort of, particularly like, for instance, if this was going to be black and white, for a black and white image that are hazy images, I will use the dehaze tool like crazy, because you can, and it doesn't affect the colors, and it can just add more contrast and detail. But you have to use it. You have to be a little bit more
subtle with it.
That
makes sense. Reverb Mike says, a hazy shade of winter, snazzy.
Yes.
And Julia says, I love this very specific photography style, very dreamy and deep.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, okay, let's see. And here's where you can really start to play. But really, I'm like, for the most part,
it's really good.
Color. I might bring the orange saturation down just a little bit and bring my luminance up just a little bit. But this just goes to show you that you get the light right, and you don't have to do all that much with your images. So let's see here. I'm going to bring down highlights because I love that sun flare.
Yeah, it looks so pretty.
Yeah, and then sometimes
what was your son doing?
He was singing.
Oh,
yes. I'm gonna read that. Yeah, his favorite song was on the radio. I don't even remember what it was.
That's real cute.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and you can, and if we're talking about skin tones with color cast, this is what I mainly do, because a lot of times, particularly with backlight, sometimes you have different color temperatures where the background is going to be super warm, and then if your subject is backlit, their skin is in the shadow sometimes. And so I have to do this a lot with backlit images too, depending on the situation. It's not as bad here, but sometimes you'll have like really cool skin tones and really warm backgrounds. And this is where using adjustment brushes to sort of level that out is super helpful. And it can be helpful with skin tones too. If you brush on, you can really cool things down and remove that, or remove some of the paint, right? So this looks ugly. That's not working, but I can't remember, Allison, I think, that asked that question.
Yes, I think it was, yeah.
And you can also, you could play here with this fine adjustment, right? If you needed to. Sometimes that'll work, and use, again, that color range mask.
Yeah.
And you can do that. And those are some other ways other than just the, basic adjustments in the HSL panel. But oftentimes when you have color casts, you really have to isolate just the skin.
Yeah, that's so true.
So,
well, thank you for that explanation. But we are ready for some portfolio review.
awesome.
So we're going to head to space and we will be right back. We are in space, y'all.
Hey.
Thank you so much for submitting your portfolios. We are so excited to look at them. We had an awesome one yesterday, and I mean, it's just always fascinating to see other people's work and, be able to offer any feedback, especially you, Summer. But yeah, so this portfolio that we have is from Diksha Vidapa. She is a student in Atlanta, Georgia, at the Savannah College of Art and Design. And yeah, she has a lot of fun work. So I don't know if you wanted to dig into anything in particular, but happy to.
Yeah, let's maybe into one of these with portraits. I don't know how many are in. Are these single, or is that a collection?
They might be collections, but let's see. Let's get in here. Okay. So here we go.
Yeah, I kind of just want to get a feel for.
Yeah, let me scroll through to see how much she has, and then we'll get into it. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
All from the same group. That's great.
Yeah, so this is all kind of from the same shoot.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Sweet.
Cool.
Oh, okay. We're getting into some.
Switching it up.
Switching it up. Oh, I love this one.
Yeah, that's a great portrait.
That's a good one. I love her eyes and her gaze.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, this is real cute.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, a lot of, ooh, okay. I love this.
Yeah, that is nice and moody.
So she's got a lot of work then.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's awesome. Lovely portraits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like this was this a labeled fashion, I think?
Yeah, fashion.
It's super cool. Like, I think your posing is nice. Some of the, it's natural, it's not too overdone, I guess. Yeah. And I would say on the first set of images by the fence, the light, you've got some cool light there that you could play with. Let me see if we scroll up a little.
Yeah, let me scroll up a little bit more. Yeah, the light is really cool here.
Yeah, and I love here, like on that one right there, you see how when you have, because the light's a little bit dappled here, right? So it's really important when it's all about making sure that the light is hit, particularly when you're shooting fashion like this, where you have a cooperative subject, you can really pay attention to where make sure light is highlighting where you want it to, and make sure shadows are in areas where you are, because light is a great way to move your eye around the frame, right? So here the light's hitting her face where you would want it to, right? Versus, for instance, if she were looking the other way, and I think I saw another one of those images. If we yeah, that one too. Yeah, these are all great. Lights hitting in the right spots, right? But you can even see there on that one how there's like a little bright highlight on her cheek.
Yeah.
When it's dappled like this and you're taking portraits, it can be really tricky. And so I would just say to make sure you, like, even in a situation like this, maybe having someone hold up like a diffuser or something like that would make your editing job a little bit easier, where you'll still have that glowy, beautiful light, and you can play with the dappled light in some of them. And then maybe for the portraits, you can kind of even it out a little bit. It'll just make your job as the photographer
a little bit easier. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and see there, you can tell it's more even. You don't have many of the hot spots.
Yeah.
You can see a lot of, I almost see a yellow, maybe it's the edit, but I think there's a little bit of color cast. The light is really yellow, probably from the fence all around.
Yeah.
Not in this one as much as where the sun's brighter.
Right,
So
right.
that's something to sort of pay attention to also.
Yeah. I wonder if the sun kept moving because or she kept moving her subjects around because, you know, you've got some more flat, even lighting here, but then all the kind of, like you were saying, dappled lighting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bet you the sun was coming in and out from behind clouds, if I had to guess, which happens.
Yes. Yeah, with clouds and stuff.
Can be super tricky as a photographer.
Yeah, totally. But I love this kind of, you know, this motion of her hair. I like how they're interacting with each other.
Yep. Agree.
Very cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just sort of the tone of the editing and the richness of the background goes all together too.
Yeah. So I would love to have seen more portraits in this kind of lighting too. Would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But this one's definitely one of my favorites as far as the ones by the fence. I think her gaze is just so, like, it's good. It's really
great.
I'm drawn in.
Same. Yeah, it's great. Just the placement of her hair, her body language, all of it. This one's very cute too.
Yes.
I love her with the girl whose eyes, like, I love just the naturalness of this. It looks very, although you can tell it's posed, it has such a candid moment to it.
Yes.
Really
it does.
Captured something that probably wasn't necessarily planned.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like the contrast of, like, you know, the girl with her eyes closed and kind of slightly smiling, but then, you know, the other girl like looking, but very, you know, kind of more calm look.
Yeah.
And I love these ones too. This is gorgeous. I mean, I love the all black and like the texture of the trees all around her too.
Colors with it.
Yeah.
Just makes it a little bit more moody, I guess, with all the dirt.
Yes. I really enjoy that this photographer is really like experimenting with different poses and like backgrounds.
Agree.
But yeah, maybe again, kind of like what we were talking about yesterday. I would definitely probably group these in separate, you know, like collections, so that we can see kind of a story, you know, like it would have been nice to have this image and this one together, you know. Yeah.
Agree.
Yeah. Love this one.
I do too. It's really nice.
Very, very cool.
Super cool. Those are great portraits.
Yeah, seriously. Oh, okay. There we go. More friends. It must be her friends. Very cool.
The light and the movement and hair here. Light's hitting in all the right spots here. This can be tricky when it's bright like that, but yeah, I mean, maybe if her chin was lifted even slightly to get just a little bit more light in her eyes, would be good too.
Yeah.
But light like this is tricky when it's this bright.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
I do too.
Yeah. I think this photographer needs to just keep going. I mean, she's got it down. I love, you know, she's clearly like being good at directing. And has like this, I mean, it could be her friends, right? They're probably comfortable with her. So it's all about that comfortable state.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool.
For sure.
Cute.
I love it.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah.
Super. Yeah. Making some great portraits.
Yeah.
I would say too, you know, it's hard because I can't see them all like in a grid.
I know. It's like they're all very big. So I have to like scroll.
Yes.
So actually, that's probably another thing, right? Like having these images maybe in more of a grouping so that they're easier to see.
Yes. Because, you know, they're beautiful on their own, but there's power in seeing all of your work in like a grid form together in a collection, right?
Yeah. And see, like if I'm just scrolling, I wouldn't even realize that she's holding this.
Exactly.
You know, like I'd love to see kind of a little bit more a smaller image so I can see it next to, you know, the other images.
Right. And maybe she has a website where she's done that. Because I also think, like, when we talk about tones in editing, that I feel like there's a lot of different, which is okay, but when you put them all together, there's a lot of different editing styles going on too. And that when you put things together in a collection, it's important that colors sort of mesh and look a little bit more consistent, even if they're different from different shoots and different light. You know what I mean? There's still ways that you can unify it with your editing.
Yes.
And I think that would be helpful also.
Yeah, definitely. I do appreciate that and again, this all comes back to like the unifying thing, but like it doesn't feel like overly processed either, because I feel like that's something that, you know, a lot of people when they get started kind of go over the top.
I totally did.
I totally did too. So, I mean, now at this point, it's about playing with a little bit more color, like being a little bit more adventurous, and then finding your style and like what that looks like.
Yeah. I think you're doing a great job.
Ooh, I love the colors in this too.
Agree. Yeah, with like your posing and you're experimenting with light. And I would say just to continue to do that. And then continue to just really refine your editing process.
Yes.
And find, not that you have to edit all images differently, but just to find a way to make all of the colors and everything sort of look cohesive when it's together. Yeah,
definitely.
Or at least group them in collections that look.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super cool. Thank you, Diksha. Let's see real quick. I'm curious about the Faces of the World. So I'm gonna peek in. Ooh, okay. This is a totally different style and vibe. I love it.
I love that.
Okay, I love this little catch light right here on the earring.
And look at this is where I need to see the whole image. Look at the bokeh.
I know. See, I can't even.
How cool that is.
I have to like keep.
So awesome.
We just need to see this like a lot smaller, and I think it's like it'll be so impactful.
Yes.
Very, very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I want to see.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Great job, Diksha. I wish you could be in the chat so you could hear us, but maybe you'll see it later in the replay. But very, very cool.
Awesome use of light again. I'm loving these. I'm assuming probably outside, just colored lights.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool.
This is so different too, because she's like very close in, very just literally headshots.
Yeah, but with cool use of light. That makes
cool use of light.
This is a great example, even though it's dappled, like the light's hitting his eyes and it totally works, you know?
Yeah. And I love, I mean, like these like color casts that are happening like work in the image like really well. So cool. Okay, I love this.
He is awesome.
So much like action and motion.
Yes, and emotion and light.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah, the light.
And looks like it's probably in a door frame.
In a door frame or at first I thought it was like maybe like a car, but maybe not. Maybe a door. Yeah, very cool. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Girl, you are good.
You're killing it.
You are
working it.
Taking like these are really capturing what I feel like personality and like soul or spirit of the person. You know what I mean? You're really capturing something that as I'm looking at them, I'm feeling like I'm feeling connected to the person.
Same here.
It's really awesome. That's not an easy thing to do.
No.
They can look very stale and boring sometimes, and these do not.
No, not at all. And the posing is down. I mean, I don't know. You're so whatever you're doing it right for sure. The one thing that I did notice, I've kind of noticed from some of the images is like maybe like the focus is like a tiny bit off. So I mean that just comes with practice, you know. Making sure you're always at a decent shutter speed and maybe open up that aperture a little bit so that it's not, super, so you don't accidentally blur, something that's,
Exactly.
But maybe that's your intention though, and that's totally cool too.
Yeah, the shutter speed thing is I always try, if I have moving people, I usually try to stay around above 1/320th of a second. You can go low, but then again, if I'm shooting with like my 70 to 200, even that is not good.
Yeah, for sure. I just realized I probably could have zoomed out this entire time to see it better, but but see, that's something to do, right? Definitely make these images smaller. I think they'll be a lot more impactful. Oh, this is beautiful.
Absolutely.
I love. Wow.
Great light.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's like an environmental portrait.
Environmental portraits, exactly. It's perfect.
His place. Just, these are so great.
These are so beautiful. I love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great job, Disha. All right. Well, I think that's good enough for us. I think you just need to keep going.
Yeah.
And I love that you have some other projects in there too. So it's really awesome that you're really just experimenting creatively. So keep going. And then for anyone who asked in the chat what her name was, it's Diksha Bidappa. So feel free to look her up and check out her work. But thank you so much for submitting, you guys. Keep submitting them over on Discord because you'll get them reviewed in a future stream, possibly. So thank you guys so much. And let's head over back to Summer's screen. Okay.
Do it again.
Perfect. That was really cool. I love that.
Wow.
Very inspiring.
I love portraits. You think they're so, like, they can be so simple, but portraits are my favorite. I love portraits. Okay. Yes. So we have about 10 minutes left.
Yeah.
Let's dive into, trying to think, what haven't we covered? Maybe we can edit this image here. Now this, I love layering images. Whoops, I need to, as we talked about, I'm always looking for ways to add layers to my images, put something in the foreground, in the background, or ways to frame my subject. This image here, these two were standing outside. They were talking to each other. She had her arm on her hip and I was behind them and I saw a little peek of her through in the middle of her arm. And I thought, oh, that's, I'm always trying to just think of a new way to make the image have a little bit more interest. That's one thing that shooting really regularly, I really believe that, I don't know if anyone's ever read the book by Stephen Pressfield, War of Art. He talks about showing up and doing the work. And I really think that, just like as photographers, it's really, really important to shoot really regularly. Maybe it's not every day, but, just like an athlete, for instance, you can't just show up. An athlete doesn't show up like once every 2 months and expect to be on top of his game. Like you have to do it regularly. And I feel that same way about photography.
You have to exercise your creativity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And half the time when I'm shooting regularly, and a lot of the stuff I'm shooting is just pure crap, but I mean, it's the truth. You can't expect that every time you pick up your camera,
that's going to be great.
Exactly. I mean, if I'm on like a paid shoot and then I've thought through it and whatever, I know that I'm going to get some stuff, but I'm talking about just regularly practicing and experimenting, even if you don't have like a job or a big setup.
Oh yeah. Personal projects are it. Like,
that's where you learn. I mean, of course you learn on jobs also, but you learn things, but to really practice, I mean, you have to feel confident that you know what you're doing when you show up.
Exactly.
Or on a job. So it's.
Yeah. That's the time to practice on, to troubleshoot and to like try new techniques and
Exactly.
yeah, and just like practice that
Yeah, with
creativity.
like motion and like panning, for instance, I went around for 2 weeks. Because sometimes creativity needs constraints, right? So I went around for 2 weeks and I decided any personal work I'm doing this week, I will not allow myself to have my shutter above 1/50th of a second. And I did that for 2 weeks. And that
Oh,
week,
wow.
so much about motion blur, right? And it just gets you like, because I have this set of restrictions basically. And so I have to like learn what works and what doesn't. And I learned so much about using a slow shutter that week. So anyway, it's
awesome.
important to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so this image here, this is a great example of when I talked about how when you have like some really cool tones and warm tones, right? Because of the backlight, and that if you warm it up to where you want everything looking warm, that it's too warm here, right? So, my computer is going to be slow. Not okay. There we go. Okay, so there's that, and I'll hand edit this one. Add a little contrast, highlights. Am I gonna bring shadows up just a little bit? No, I'm gonna bring those back down. I'm gonna bring blacks up just ever so slightly. Let's see, I added a little bit of contrast. And you could try to play around with the haze. Now, when I shot this, you might think like, oh, just get the sun really close to your subject. But this, I had to be super, super careful about when I'm shooting an image like this. I first keep the sun like I have my subject completely blocking the sun from letting any light come into my frame. And then I let an ever so slight amount of light peek out from behind them. And that way that works better for me than just letting a lot of it in and then trying to cut it out. A little bit goes a long way in an image like this, because otherwise, because she's so close there, this could turn into like such a hazy disaster, right? Yeah, as you can see, I play with a lot of details in light. And I'm just gonna bring up my lights a little, bring that down, shadows. And then here, the cool tones here are sort of really bothering me. I want to even those out. So I'll probably bring some blues down, bring aquas down, and the saturation. And that helps quite a bit. Let's see here. And then you can see again, orange is a place for skin tones, where you want that to go, right? So looks pretty good. Saturation, I might see what happens when I add some reds. No, that's too much. So yeah, and this might be a good example of a time to use the radial filter.
Oh yeah. That's cool.
Let's see. Yeah, and then you can sort of play with that. Wait, is that affecting everything? Why is it not?
Maybe that little arrow on the right. Is that a drop down thing?
Let's see. I think that just. Thank you.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, so there you go. And then you can invert it, right? So whether you want to affect inside the circle or outside the circle. I right now want to affect outside the circle.
That looks so cool.
And so I could bring exposure down a little bit. And then here I could really, where this is all warm out here, I could warm it up a little bit without it, so that it sort of matches what's going on in the center. And and then, and you could even do another one. Can I duplicate this? You can just duplicate it. And you're gonna reset the effect and invert. So then if I wanted to tweak things on the inside of this, right?
Yeah. So Luzman says good. Wade says nice.
Awesome. But so and then maybe I just want to crop in ever so slightly, not
Perfect.
too much. I don't mind this composition with her being right in the center.
Right in the middle. In the middle.
With this framing
That
work.
looks awesome.
So yeah. Anyways,
Wow.
my editing process is pretty simple.
I love it though.
Yeah. All
Yeah.
about trying to get it right in camera.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Summer. This was really, really awesome. We went over so much yesterday and today, and both of these streams are available for replay. So you can, you know, pause, play, go, rewind, all the stuff, and you can learn so much. But just wanted to thank you, Summer, for being with us. You did excellent.
Well, thank you. It's so fun to be here. I love talking photography shop.
Yeah, go follow Summer on Instagram and check out her site. I think it's Summer_Murdock, right?
Yes, on Instagram.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, thank you guys so much. And until next time.
Yeah.
Bye, Summer.
See ya.